And if I lose liberty, then it takes away the basic reason for living.
So what is
if you're the sort of person who doesn't mind about having any liberty, provided you've got a house and food coming to you and you will do what you're told to do, then perhaps you won't mind. I suppose it's the difference between being born free and living life like an animal at the zoo in a cage.
We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds.
Thank you for joining us. You are listening to A Radio, and this is The Morning Moment. We're on weekdays, 11:45 Eastern. Follow us on Spreaker.com and click on the like button. Sometimes I like to give you something a little different. Now I know you won't have heard of this before, anywhere. How do I know that? Well, it's simple. Because this is a true story of something that actually took place only a few days ago. Those of you who know me and listen to my podcasts know that I never sugarcoat anything. Well, this experience will be no different. I want to tell you a story. It's not very long, but it is, however, a very sad one. It's about a couple of people I met recently. Now, for personal security, I can't tell you where, but suffice it to say, both these seniors are British, and they were talking to me in the United States. So for you Canadians who are about to get upset, sorry, the conversation took place outside of Canada. Oh, and your jurisdiction. So to the story. Well, it's not so much a story, rather than a series of comments. Now, as I said, I'm not going to go into any details as to who they were and where they were, other than to say this. They were two British ladies, retired, so to speak. One lives in the south of England, just outside London, so that narrows it down a bit, but not too much. The reason for the secrecy will become very clear. The other, somewhere in Yorkshire, and for those of you who don't know where that is, it's the northern part of England. The story starts, as all stories start, by something happening by accident. It was innocent enough by me picking up on an accent. The circumstances are that we were away for a couple of days' break in northern New York State. We were at a tourist location. I won't be any more specific than that. And I heard this voice. So, me being me, I made a beeline towards the voice and introduced myself in a general sense. I must add, nothing to do with the stuff I do here. We chatted for a while, quite innocently, as you do. It felt like meeting long-lost friends. It seems that Brits abroad are a rarity these days. Anyway, we got to talking, and we entered into general conversation, which they were happy to do, and happy meeting other Brits. That put them at ease, and before long we were deep in conversation, oblivious of our immediate surroundings. We talked about the weather, as all Brits do, and then we drifted onto the subject of crime in the UK. Not sure exactly how that happened, but it did. First we asked, is the crime situation as bad as we're hearing in the media? They hesitated for a moment. I was surprised. I thought we'd gone on quite well. I started asking questions about the state of safety on the streets, and with them being senior ladies living in a urban area, both of them. Now, please bear in mind, they were from very different parts of the UK. Both had exactly the same comment, and it was chilling to me. It was this, and I'm paraphrasing it here. They both said it was unsafe in most cities. Knife attacks were commonplace. Police were overwhelmed with crime, that they've lost control. One town, Luton, is a virtual no-go zone due to, shall we say, different ethnic groups. There are many large cities in the UK with similar problems, but the media play it down there. Gangs roam housing estates, that's large urban housing areas to you, without fear of being arrested due to the lack of police. Law and order in most large cities is almost non-existent. Police only concentrate on very serious crime. Except, of course, in the UK, there are large numbers of police trawling the internet for, quote, incorrect speech, unquote. Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to talk to them about this serious situation in the UK with internet police, which was a shame. But their main concern was clearly mass uncontrolled migration forced on the UK by the EU. They were very concerned about this. There are areas they had known in their respective cities that they no longer recognise as being British. That shocked me. And they both felt very strongly that multiculturalism brought in by the Labour Party in the 60s was nothing more than legal mass invasion. We have lost our country, they inferred, if not said. Next, they told us there are large numbers of immigrants that have overloaded the social services and housing provided for them and are seeking to start spreading outwards from the big cities to seek better services and housing, all of which paid for by the British taxpayer. They seemed very depressed about the future and quite frankly thought it had gone too far. They also, surprisingly, weren't sure that the Brexit Party or anyone else could stop the inevitable collapse of the social structure of the country. I have to say they were really nice, down-to-earth people who were there on a break. It was hard, quite frankly, to listen to, and even harder to watch them tell their tales. I could see that they were genuinely scared talking to me. It took quite some time for them to realise they could actually talk openly about their worries and concerns, even though it was in a foreign environment. This is clearly not the case in the UK, without running the risk of being called a racist, a bigot, a homophobe, and all those other left-wing tripe comments. But what's worse than the name-calling is the real fear, as I have commented many times before, the real fear of that knock on the door from the local police accusing you of a so-called, quote, hate crime, for which, if you are found guilty by a modern-day Star Chamber, you could find yourself going to jail for 5 years. Think of that. 5 years for speaking your mind, while all the time this crime wave has carried on around you. Isn't that enough to make anyone scared to say anything? As I said, they were very adamant that they couldn't talk about such things in public in the UK without fear of prosecution. People are scared, genuinely scared. They are scared there to tell the truth, and the police and the authorities don't want to know. They, that's the authorities, have turned their back on the people and are providing the most minimal services that they can. People, quite frankly, are hiding behind their front doors in fear of being attacked. Police only seem to protect the minorities. It's very sad. It's a really sad state of affairs. What the future holds is uncertain, but one thing is for sure. What happens in Britain eventually ends up on these shores, and we're already seeing signs of that. Certainly in Canada with new hate crime laws, which are unconstitutional, by the way. It is my intention to keep in touch with these ladies. However, I doubt very much they will be prepared to speak so openly in their own country, even by means of electronic medium. Now I have to say in closing that not all areas of Britain are like this at present. There are many areas which are pure country. It's hard to believe with 60 million people living there and 30 million cars on the road. But there are quiet areas. But it is going on in the large urban conurbations. What a shocking thing to have to say about the so-called cradle of democracy. Whatever happened to it that two ordinary British citizens on vacation are scared to talk about their own country, and clearly scared to talk about their own country in their country for fear of prosecution? What the heck has happened to Britain? Are we looking at our future in the West, in Canada, in America? Well, Canada's certainly going this way, and America, if the left-wing Democrats have their way, will go this way. We have to stand up for our rights in all Western countries and stop this madness. You just heard a story, but the trouble is it's not a story. It's the truth, and it's happening right now. You can find more at aradio.wordpress.com, where you can find links to us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Gab, and email. We are also on Spotify. Just go to the podcast section and type Canadian Politics with a twist, and you'll find us. We are continuing to reach out to you, so please pass on the links. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. You can listen to all our morning moments at Spreaker.com under A Radio. That's EHRADIO, A Radio. And please click on the like button. And you can now hear a weekend review of our podcasts on WHBJ DB, News Talk Radio. Join us and many others, and you can find all our podcasts and morning moments at aradio.wordpress.com. Click on the Morning Moments tab.